everybody, and welcome to The Very Worst, a podcast that's only about all of the Pokemon movies. I am Matt Aucamp, and here are my friends.
Hey, I'm Pat Reber.
I'm Ashley Stoneman.
And what we're going to do with this podcast is every single week we're going to watch one of the Pokemon movies, and then talk about it with you. And that's all That's all we're gonna do. That's actually all we're gonna do.
Yeah.
All of them.
We're gonna watch all of them. I mean,
can you
All of
recap,
them.
Matt, exactly how many there are?
Yeah.
There's 24. Well, there's 23. There's one that's been released in Japan and that is soon to be released in U.S. theaters. Maybe we can all go see it.
Oh,
live
yes,
in theaters
please.
when it happens.
But today we're here to talk about...
I don't know, I guess I thought you guys would be okay.
Like super into that.
I thought we'd. I guess I thought you guys would be on board.
I'm already done with this project. I've watched one movie and I don't want to see another.
I also
Why would I wanna go to the
I
theater?
also would have to travel to a different city in order to see this movie, which is costly and
oh no, we could FaceTime.
we'll
go to a
okay.
theater. We're gonna be the only people in the theater.
Oh, okay. I'm glad that you already decided that.
Well, I mean, we'll see it at 9 p.m. No kids will be there.
Okay.
It'll be the two of us and some guy who's looking for a quiet place to masturbate.
Okay. And then you're gonna FaceTime the entire movie to me?
No, we'll FaceTime you while you're watching the movie in a theater with a man masturbating.
Oh, that
quietly.
won't be happening. Well, why don't you?
Well,
Why don't
sit
you
in
guys?
front of the man. You don't have to see that.
Oh, okay. I mean, sure.
Okay,
That's
cool.
gonna be so
It's
sad.
set. It's set. Guys, what is your experience with Pokemon, the franchise of lovable, small, pocket-sized monsters from the city of Japan? Yep.
Pat, you want to start or should I?
I'll kick it off. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, go for it.
I was about 13 when it came over to the States, so I did get into red and blue. I owned blue. I never owned red.
I owned red. I never owned blue.
Man, we should have known each other years earlier, and we would have traded
Two
Pokemon.
ships passing the night.
I could have gotten a Growlithe, and you could have gotten a Vulpix.
Oh man!
If I got those backwards, we might get a hate email.
Yeah, that's all right.
Oh, I
I'm
expect
sure
many
we'll get
hate
plenty,
emails, not just for that. Are you serious?
I'm gonna send us a hate email myself.
After that, I kind of fell out of it. I watched this series for a little bit on TV. I kind of fell out of it, and then I started babysitting a kid when I was 15, and that's when the first Pokemon movie came out. So
And he never left. He's
I
still
took-
here. Say hi, Jeremy.
Oh, good.
Jeremy, settle down. Pat, throw
He's
some
not-
M&Ms in Jeremy's
You
bag.
weren't supposed to let him talk. Anyway, I was babysitting Matt's friend Jeremy at the time, and
Okay, great.
we went to see the first Pokemon movie in the theaters. Also, I've played Pokemon Snap and Pokemon Go.
I love that game.
Did someone put Jeremy back in his cage?
He doesn't live in a cage, Ashley. Pat's not a monster. He keeps him in a bag.
Okay. A breathable bag.
Ashley, what's your experience with Pokemon?
So, let me see. I probably got into it when I was about 14. I played Red and Blue.
You played both of them? You owned both of them and played both of them?
Yes.
Did you own 2 Game Boys so you could trade with yourself?
No. Alright, so I owned those, and then I played Pokemon Snap. I saw the first movie. I dragged my little brother to the first movie in the theaters because I was just like, yeah, you want to see it, don't you? He's like, not really.
He was like, I'm too old for this.
Yeah, exactly. His 15-year-old sister is like dragging him into a Pokemon movie in the
And
theaters.
you're like, I'm just here because my little brother.
No, that's 100% what
He's
happened.
like, I hate that. I want to.
Yeah, he's like, I really don't want to see this.
I want to
He
watch
was like,
Jurassic Park.
yeah, exactly. He's like, I just wanted to treat my little brother to a movie. It's fine. Yeah, I'm a good sister. Trying to think. I mean, I played Pokemon Go as well. I don't know. And then later on, I started making a bunch of friends who were into Pokemon.
Later on, after Pokemon Go came out, you mean?
Sorry. Yeah, my timeline is fucked up. So, I made...
No, I would just. I mean,
As I got
you live
older.
Where?
I guess I didn't know. I live in New York City.
Okay.
Ooh.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, the Big Apple.
So I was thinking. Did you say Gapple?
I'm sorry, what?
I was thinking that there was like a poke bar or something. There was some sort of
yes,
like
the
Brooklyn
poke bar
Pokemon
here.
themed bar that you were like, oh, and then I made a whole bunch of Pokemon friends as an adult in New York City and Brooklyn.
I would not be surprised if that were a thing.
Me neither.
In Brooklyn. Absolutely not. That I guarantee. I should Google it now because I guarantee that's actually a thing. But no. I actually made some friends like at Max Fun and stuff like that who were like into Pokemon. And when Pokemon Go came around, I had this like resurgence of interest. Oh, and I am a nanny also, so I was watching my two little boys who were like 7 and 8, and they were collecting Pokemon cards, and that kind of like, oh, I remember all this.
You're a nanny where?
Oh, I'm sorry, New York City. Do you guys hear that? I'm a nanny in New York City. Yeah, the city that never weeps.
Did you ever meet Spider-Man?
I did. I have met Spider-Man. Yeah, it's the city that has gotten destroyed more times on film than any other city, I believe. So
I thought I think that's Atlantis. I think
no,
you're
I
thinking
think
of Atlantis.
I think it. I'm almost positive.
Yeah, the same thing happened to me where I had loved Pokemon as a child. Like I collected the cards and I played Red and whatever. I used to download illegal Japanese ROMs of the later games before they were out in America. Yeah, and like really bad fan subs of the games that like were unplayable. And but then I walked away from it for a long time. And then Pokemon Go came out, and I was like, I fucking love Pokemon. So I went out and like bought a 3DS, and I bought all the games, and I've been playing through all of the Pokemon games. And then one night, I was awake at 3 a.m. in like a insomnia haze, and I decided to text my two friends, Pat and Ashley, about watching every single Pokemon movie in a row and doing a podcast about it.
You said my two friends, like we were your only two friends, like setting up a text.
Oh no!
My friends.
No!
Ashley.
I have 151 friends. It's like 800, but I have 151 really good friends, and the rest are kind of just like close acquaintances.
I understand.
So, do you guys want to talk about this movie?
Can I drop one more thing in my Pokemon resume that I forgot
Let's hear
about?
it.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I have one more thing too. Go ahead, Pat.
Oh, I have one more thing too.
Okay, great.
No, you don't. I had, it was like a Tamagotchi, but instead of the little Tamagotchi thing, it was a Pikachu. I had a little like pocket Pikachu
That sounds adorable,
you
actually.
had to feed and take care of and stuff. It was neat.
What's your extra Pokemon credit?
I was actually on a Pokemon panel comedy show. Where we all were supposed to be. Everyone else was a Pokemon expert, and someone was like, "What's your favorite Pokemon?" I was like, "Charizard, Pikachu," and they're like, "Okay, you're on the panel." I was like, "Cool." I showed up late to the panel during the show, and continued just to play with the stuffed animals that were on the table. I'm sorry, the stuffed Pokemon that were on the table.
So you do comedy?
I do comedy.
Where do you do comedy?
You know what? I do it in New York City.
Oh.
Yeah. The beta city in the world.
Did you say the Venus city in the world?
I'm sorry, what?
So I don't have another credit. I was lying. Pat was right. Do you guys want to talk about the Pokemon movie?
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's get into it because I have a lot. I have some things to say.
So the movie we watched this time was Pokemon: The First Movie. That's what it's called. They really planted their flag.
What?
Yes.
They really pointed at the bleachers with this one.
It was like Pokemon. There will be more.
Yeah.
I'm sure it sounds nicer in Japanese.
It's called Pokemon: The First Movie: Mewtwo Strikes Back.
So I have a ton of thoughts on this movie, but probably about a third of them are for a 10-minute prologue to the movie that I saw.
Yeah, I think it's possible.
Yes.
Pat maybe watched a totally different movie because we were talking about this movie before, and I was talking about like the beginning of the movie, and Pat was like, "That's not the beginning of the movie," and he has an entirely different. So yeah, first let's talk about this, and then I want to talk about all of our first impressions.
Right.
So this 10-minute prologue of the movie is actually super fucked up.
Yes.
So it's just Mewtwo in like the fetal position in the dark, just thinking to himself, and then all of a sudden a little girl appears, and that little girl is like, hey, I think it was like Anna or Daisy or something.
Hold on. I have the Wikipedia open up. Dr. Fuji is hired by Giovanni, leader of Team Rocket, to utilize his expertise in cloning, blah, blah, blah. Fuji is revealed to be allying with Giovanni as a means to fund his side project, the resurrection of his deceased daughter, Amber.
Amber, that's it.
Jesus Christ.
So as it goes, the Mewtwo wakes up, and Amber is there, and Amber is just like, hey, you talk like me, but you're supposed to be a Pokemon. But in this world, we're all kind of the same thing. And she explains that it's kind of like this weird digital simulation that they're in. And then Charmander shows up, Bulbasaur shows up, Squirtle shows up, the sun shows up. She explains what the sun is, and then the moon comes out, and Mewtwo is like, is that a sun too? And she has to explain that it's a moon. And then it goes to the scientist trying to revive his dead daughter, and it's just him in mourning. For the first 10 minutes of the movie, the first note I took here is, what the fuck is going on? This is creepy as hell. Oh, this is a horror movie. This man is
oh
trying
my God.
to. He says he's unlocking the secret to cloning Mew, which could unlock the secret to restoring life itself, because he is trying to figure out how to clone Pokemon. Because the next logical step from there is cloning humans, and he can bring his dead daughter back.
Fuck?
Mewtwo befriends the salvaged consciousness of Amber, named Amber 2.
Yep.
Amber 2.
Amber 2. That's right.
What?
Oh my God.
So I'll wrap this up here. There's no explanation for what's going on. Like the only thing you know for sure during this 10-minute prologue to the movie is that a child has died. That's.
Did you guys ever see Astro Boy?
The cartoon or like the weird movie they did?
Not the weird movie, the cartoon, the old cartoon.
Yes.
It's
No.
the exact same. It's the same plot. Like a guy's kid dies at the very beginning of it, and he spends all this time trying to bring this dead kid back to life in a robot. Then he does, and then he realizes the robot doesn't have the like little boyness that his son had. It doesn't have the sunness that his son had.
Personality, maybe?
Abandons it. And then from there on, Astro Boy is a fun romp about a little like robot boy who shoots lasers out of his butt.
This is so fucked up.
But hold
God.
on. I did not see this prologue.
No, I didn't either.
It sets up so much. Like
I don't understand. I'm so confused right now because that is not what I saw. I did not see any of this.
So that's where I was in the 10-minute prologue. It doesn't explain anything except that the scientist's daughter is dead, and that's the reason he created Mewtwo.
Well, wait.
And then also the end of that prologue is the point where Rachel, my girlfriend, dipped out. She was done watching.
Hold on. So that's going to make the beginning of this movie even more sad.
Yes.
Because something traumatic happens at the very beginning of the actual movie.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the prologue that me and Ashley are going to have to watch at some point because I did not see this.
I'm sorry, one more thing about the prologue. I don't mean to interrupt you. But
No.
the true opening to the movie is just they're called Mankeys, right? The ones
The little
that look like,
fighting monkeys.
Yeah.
The angry.
Mankeys,
like
yes.
50 of them just flying through the trees in the jungle themselves. That's the true like opening visual of the movie, and I think it's beautiful.
Aww.
Oh, okay, great. What?
If I could say one thing about this whole movie, I would say beautiful. So,
Yeah, okay. All right. Creepy doesn't come to your mind at all?
no, I'm much like Brock. I'm just
I have
obsessed
so much
with
to
the
say about
beauty of
Brock,
everything.
guys. Oh no, I have so much to say about Brock.
Me too. Okay, so let's say like let's get into like initial Should we come up with bumpers for this? Should I say initial impressions and then like a sound comes up that's like initial impressions?
Sure, why not?
Okay.
Okay.
Ashley, why don't you start this one?
All right, cool. Well,
Now that we've left enough silence for the bumper to go in.
so that's so fucked up. But so because I thought it was already fucked up from what I saw, which was just like extremely existential and like posing the question of the meaning of life like several times throughout the film, and begins just very heavy for a children's film. And so I was just kind of like, okay, this is not what I expected, or at least not what I remember from this movie. And my initial impression was just like, it was just really heavy.
Like you thought the whole movie was heavy?
Well, I mean, because they pose that question, like the entire film is based around this question of like the meaning of life, and if you are just an experiment, then why don't you fuck it all, kind of thing. And I think it was more like serious. I'm serious, because like Mewtwo is angry that he's an experiment, and everybody is just kind of following these humans who destroyed his life, or like, tried to control him. So it's like I was almost on Mewtwo's side.
Well,
throughout most of it.
But I'm sure we'll get into this as we describe.
Sorry.
As we go.
Sorry.
No. You're fine. I'm sure we'll get into this as we go point by point. But I think like the morality, the point that Mewtwo is making is incredibly
valid,
vague. No, I think like to say that this movie has a point, not 70 points, that half of which contradict each other. To say this movie has a point would take a lot of like rhetorical backflipping.
Yes.
So many characters make so many points,
yes.
and so many things are rewarded or punished that I think it's impossible to say that like Mewtwo has a specific goal or Ash triumphs over Mewtwo for
there's just
specific
there's
reason.
Just so much going on where
it seems like 3 or 4 after school specials got mixed with some like anime about monsters fighting.
Dude, there is one consistent theme through the whole movie, and that is friendship is good.
Really? Is that? I guess so, because I was like, oh, life and death. Like, let's think about this, kids. Hey, let's pose mortality. Like, here you guys go. Here's your own mortality to think about.
I like to think that those are the two things this podcast is about, actually. Friendship, like the friendship of us three, Matt, Pat, and Ashley, and life or death, as in we only have a limited amount of time on this earth, and we're choosing to spend once a week watching a Pokemon movie.
Which is why I'm
talking about
oh god.
And you listeners spending deciding to spend once a week listening to us talking about this.
You listener decided to spend.
His name is
Jeff.
Mario. I was going to say Jeff, and I decided not to. What the hell? I was literally thinking Jeff, and then I thought about a Jeff that probably will listen to this podcast, and I was like, I'm not going to say that, because I don't want him to think I'm talking about him.
I know, because I'm actually addressing Jeff. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. Yeah.
Thanks, Jeff.
The funny thing about what Matt just said...
But I also appreciate Mario.
Matt came up with Mario. I don't know if you guys know this, but Mario is a character... on the Nintendo system, which is the same system that Pokemon is on.
Oh my god. This is such a connection. This goes so much deeper than I thought.
Maybe we should save this to the end. No, I'll ask it at the beginning, and we can revisit at the end. Did you guys like this movie? Did you guys enjoy watching it?
Not by the end.
Okay.
Not by the end?
Yeah, by the end I was done with it.
To say I enjoyed it, I don't know. I think it was... If I enjoyed it even a little bit, it was because of nostalgia's sake. Being like, oh man, I remember like being in the theater when I was 14, watching this and being so excited. But also, I mean, I'm as an adult, it just got really weird.
It's so weird. It's so weird.
I think
like there's so much like thought about mortality in the entire thing. It really poses the question of just like life and death and the meaning of life throughout the entire film.
I have a question about the very end that's along those lines, but okay, I think there was a lot to enjoy in this movie. There was like legitimately a lot of things that were enjoyable, even if they were ridiculous or like technically very bad.
Yeah.
But
there were some very heartfelt moments. There were some parts of it where, not necessarily enjoying the movie, but just knowing the context of the movie, I was like, oh, that's actually very sweet. I'm a little touched by that.
Right, and I would agree, though, by the end of the movie, no, I was not enjoying it. I was like, what the fuck is happening? And I watched it with my 13-year-old son and my I felt like giving her my 28-year-old girlfriend.
Okay.
I don't know why I gave his age. Why would I not give her age?
I don't know.
I'm a 32-year-old man.
Okay.
So between us, we had.
Okay, let's do a median here.
62, hold on, 62, 70, 75 years.
Oh, I thought you were going to pull the median age of you guys.
Our median age would be, 75 divided by 3,
good,
25.
yes.
Median age was 25.
And that's my age.
No, it's not.
Okay.
You're significantly older. I'm going to take this whole thing again. I watched it with my 13-year-old son and my adult girlfriend. My child's son and my adult girlfriend.
Your teenage son and your adult girlfriend. Definitely an adult girlfriend. 100% legal age girlfriend.
Well, I'm glad we got that out of the way.
Okay.
Matt's already lost it. I can't believe this has happened already.
Listen, hold on. There's some subtext you should know, and I might cut like so much of this out, but there's some
I
subtext
need
you
to
should know.
understand.
It is
Okay.
so hot in this room.
Yeah,
It's very hot in this room as well.
I brought
so.
2 ice packs out of the freezer because we had to turn off the air conditioner. I brought 2 ice packs out of the freezer so me and Pat could put them on
You're
ourselves.
just rubbing
I have
ice packs
like
on
a
us.
fan kind of going. It's like it's kind of broken and the windows are open, so it's like I'm just I'm really uncomfortable right now.
All right.
Only in New York.
So if I watched this movie with my girlfriend and my 13-year-old son, and
Who'd you watch it with?
I don't even remember what my point is anymore. I figured out the right way to style it, but I don't know what my point was. I watched it with my son and my girlfriend. My
Right.
son is a teenager,
Right.
and she fell asleep. It kept his attention pretty much the whole time, but I think
Okay.
by the end of it, we were all pretty frustrated with like it was annoying and obnoxious enough for her to wake up and think like, what is happening, and for him to have completely lost any faith that he had in the movie, and like there's just at a point this movie becomes incomprehensible.
Right.
It's like what is saving the day? Is it friendship? What is saving the day? Is it weakness? What is saving?
But-
yeah.
Right. But also, I feel like there is like a ton of filler that's going on in
my
between it.
God.
Like, I feel like there's just a bunch of just like random shit that happens because it's like, oh shit, the movie isn't long enough, guys. Oh, okay, more cutesy stuff, guys. He slides down this thing, and Pikachu goes down this little slide. It's cool. It's great.
I kept noticing scenes where like they're just supposed to be eating something, but then they actually eat that for a full minute. It's just them spooning food into their mouth for so long. Like
Also-
they're clearly just trying to stretch things out.
Oh man.
There's so many moments that are supposed to be like that feel like emotional turning points for Pikachu.
Yes.
Like there's this moment that hinges on Pikachu's determination or Pikachu's love for Ash, and then like the follow up is nothing happens. Like the camera zooms in on Pikachu, and Pikachu's like, I'm gonna take control of this situation because I love my friend Ash, and then he's like, he does something big. There's a lot of lightning comes out of him this time, and then whoever it is that he's facing is just like, okay, and then they move, and then the problem still exists, and it's like, what?
Ash is still dead.
There was no there was no like payoff. There was no payoff for that. Okay, let's start going through like beat by beat the movie. The movie starts after whatever weird thing whatever creepy pasta Pat stumbled into, where Mewtwo looked at him through the screen and said, "You're going to die next week." It starts with like that same goofy Pokemon announcer from the show and from this movie
Yeah.
trying to sound like really serious.
Yes.
And he says, "Life, the great miracle, and the great mystery." That's the beginning lines of this movie. And it's like, yeah, right.
And
I
then,
know. It's like when I first heard that, I was just like, did he send me the right film? And like I looked at it, I was like, is this the right movie? This is still the Pokemon movie, right? And I had to double check and be like, is this like from a Discovery Channel? What is going on?
There is a moment where film comes into your vocabulary, and it quickly leaves, but there's a moment where he starts narrating where you're like, oh, film? And then at another point you go, oh, no, movie.
No movie.
The opening, like, minute and a half of the movie is almost like a video you would watch in a high school science class. It starts with that corny line, and then it explains what Pokemon are. Imagine going from the creepy fucking shit that I watched into just a 2-minute science video about what a Pokemon is.
Hold on 1 second. Pat, hold on 1 second. You know how in every science class they sit you down and they talk about what a protozoan is. They talk to you about what you're talking about animal. They talk about what a plant is, and they talk about what a Pokemon is, and it's biology.
Oh, that'd be a great biology class. Pokemon.
I think that's exactly what that opening was modeled after, was like an educational science video.
It did sound like an educational.
It was him doing a Carl Sagan impression.
In the background, they have like ghost whispers, like the background noise for him going, "Life, the great miracle and the great mystery." It's like Pokemon are.
I heard one of them say, "John is still alive. Paul is dead."
Jet fuel can't melt steel beams.
And there's one thing that happens in that early narration where he says something along the lines of, Pokemon, like people, are always on a search for the meaning of life. And it's like, really? Pokemon are on a search for the meaning of life?
Really?
I don't know about you guys, but for me, it was never, a part of the video games was never a search for the meaning of life.
No.
It was usually about how to beat the other Pokemon with my cool moves.
Or capture them, or like keep them as a cute pet. That's nice.
Yeah. Usually not about like what is the meaning of life here.
And that's what I was getting to, was like it's just too heavy to start out with. And I thought it was heavy from my end, and then I hear what Pat heard.
Pat went through. Not what Pat heard, what Pat went through.
Like, he experienced something, like, really traumatic, and I have to watch this. I have to see that.
You'll get your chance.
We'll find it. It's
and then this narration ends with Mewtwo starting to talk, and he says the words, "I am ready to be." Did you guys think about, like, while this was happening,
Yes.
how bad of a name Mewtwo is? I had
almost
never
as bad as
considered that
Amber, too.
before. But, like, they talk about Mew in the intro, and it really drives home, like, these two just called him Mewtwo. Like, we could have called him, like, I bet there was a chalkboard full of names.
Trevor.
It was like Trevor,
Jonathan.
Psychomancer, the great mind being. And they were like, no. And somebody wrote, we just call him Mewtwo. And one of them was like, it's fucking 2 a.m. Let's just call him Mewtwo.
So the second one, Mew, I'm fucking tired. I guess I really want to go home.
The other thing is, during that initial narration, they talk about Mew, and they show like a drawing of him that looks like it's done by like a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
It's like this.
It's like a kindergartner's impression of what hieroglyphics are.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. Like, it was supposed to be hieroglyphics, right?
Right, yeah, like they found this drawing of Mew on a cave wall, but what they don't say is, like,
God.
it was drawn by a 6-year-old caveman. They never talk about that in science, do they? That, like,
what would
okay.
be really funny is the caveman hieroglyphics were actually just drawn by children, and everyone thought that they were like.
When Werner Herzog is talking about, like, the Cave of Wonders or whatever, and he's like, and here you see a boy drew a box with a triangle on it to show his house. His mummy is standing there. Like, you don't know that those were drawn by the artists of the day. That could have just been some kid scribbling.
And back then, it's just like, Jimmy, stop drawing on the fucking wall. Honey, could you please just take the marker from him?
Stop drawing bison. All Jimmy draws is bison.
Honey, can you just take the stone away from him, please?
Take the stone away from him. That's all we have, dear. What do you want me to do? Take the stone away and give him another stone?
Look, take that away. Take this rock and go outside.
He's just gonna, we send him outside, he's just gonna find another rock. He's just gonna draw a bison on the outside of the cave, just like he did last week.
It's better he does it at home.
So, Mewtwo eventually escapes, and it's unclear why, right? Like, it's unclear. He just has a bigger and bigger existential crisis until his tank breaks, which is exactly what it feels like to have a panic attack, by the way.
Oh, accurate. Okay.
I think he makes it clear enough, right? He's just like, oh, all I am to you is a play toy. I'm an experiment.
Right.
But I know that I'm more than that because so I don't know how he has this advanced intelligence. That's what really fascinates me about the character of Mewtwo.
Yeah.
Is just, he's instantly not only aware of himself and aware of his existence, but he's also aware of like the moral fallacy of these scientists that created him.
Yeah, and he's only been alive for a few minutes.
Which is such, like, I don't mean to go off here, but what a fascinating theory about how this could go. Like, you always see stories, science fiction stories about people or things that are created by something and just automatically assume that it's some sort of god. I think it is neat. This is one of those moments where in this bullshit nonsensical movie, there's something that makes a little sense. There's this moment where it's like a science fiction story where he tries something entirely different.
Yeah, right. Where he's like, my creator fucking sucks. Is a big dumb idiot. That is a very intelligent point. But what I was over here thinking was, does Mewtwo ever call himself Mewtwo during the movie?
I don't think so.
So how does Ash know that his name is Mewtwo? And if he doesn't call himself Mewtwo during a movie, does he know his name is Mewtwo, or does he have his own name for himself? And he's like,
Mike.
and somebody's like,
it's Mike.
hey, are you Mewtwo? And he's like, no, I'm Mike 1.
I'm Mike.
What do you mean Mewtwo? No, I'm Mike 1. I'm the first of Mikes, not the second of Mews.
But didn't he like some sort of scientist or something? Didn't he meet someone who told him it was Mewtwo? I'm almost positive.
Maybe.
I'm pretty sure Amber 2 lets him know.
But I would have freaked out too if somebody had called me if my parents had like a crib death baby. This sucks. I'm sorry.
Jesus Christ.
But like I don't know another way to say it. If my parents no because the scientists didn't create Mew, right? So if my parents had a friend who had a really cool baby named Matt, and they called me Matt too, I would be so fucking angry. I might break a tank full of liquid and explode a room with my psychic powers.
Not only that, no, think about it. Not like had their kid, but like, oh, the Johnsons, they have their kid is so cool. Matt.
Their kid Matt is cool.
Over here. Let's create a kid in the laboratory. That's identical to that kid, except a little bit better. We'll call him Matt too.
And the Johnsons are over there like, what the fuck, guys? You cannot bring that kid over to our house.
Yeah, and then your parents are like, hey, look, it's your kid, except like way better.
He's
suck on it.
Taller, and he has a big like proboscis coming from his crotch to the back of his head.
He's smarter and everything. Look at his cool jacket. You guys like that? Like his cool jacket? Yeah. So, Matt 2 is so much cooler than your Matt.
So Mewtwo...
They're like, are you serious? What the hell is going on?
So Mewtwo, also known as Mike 1, breaks open his tank.
Mike
1 breaks open his tank. And they have a protocol for... This is my favorite part of, I think, the whole movie. They have a protocol for if Mike 1 breaks out. And it's 1,000 mechanical hands.
Arms.
They must have programmed just for the scenario because they all reach in and grab Mike 1.
If I may, I have a full page of notes on why Mewtwo's evil lair is just fucking cool as hell. And number one on my list is bunch of arms security.
That's your security system. Like, that's such a good idea. Like, if I could get those guys, I would sleep like a fucking baby, right? I would sleep with all my windows and my front door open if I knew that there was going to be 1,000 mechanical arms that were going to grab anybody who walks.
I would invite that trouble. I would invite like intruders, really, just to watch it happen. That would be so interesting. Yeah, I would make myself a sitting duck just for my mechanical arms to take care of it.
The system does fail twice in that movie.
Because Mikeone breaks out of
Right.
Mikeone breaks out. Ash also breaks out.
And Ash is just a weak little boy.
Yeah.
Well, okay, we'll get to that. Okay, so Mikeone gets attacked by a bunch of mechanical arms, breaks out of it, and he explodes like an atom bomb.
Yeah.
There's like this atomic explosion that, I don't know, I guess that just comes from Mikeone's brain?
Yeah, I think he blows a thing up. I think he's destroying a lab, so it's easy to find a thing that just explodes.
Yeah, because labs just have tanks of exploding material
yeah, that's what I was
everywhere.
thinking. Like, there has to be some sort of just chemicals all over the place. Just
He kills at least a dozen human beings.
Oh, at least
at this moment, right?
At least, yes.
Yeah, easily.
So, from Pat's perspective at this point, he's watched so far a story of a scientist who lost his daughter in a tragic accident, or whatever, however it is his daughter died, spends all of his resources trying to resurrect this daughter, fails, instead creates this psychic Pokemon creature. The psychic Pokemon creature decides he hates him, smashes out of his tank, and murders him, and now he's dead.
I mean, yes, but the way I saw it, I actually watched a newborn clone become sentient, make friends, start to live in his simulated world, and then watch all of his friends disappear one by one like the end of Infinity War.
Didn't see it. Spoiler. Thanks.
And then finally gain consciousness on top of his sentience and go nuts because of it. Like, he had a digital simulation with 4 friends that he loved and a sun and a moon. And that was all taken from him by the people that see him as a
So it actually
an
made you,
experiment.
like, tear up when he said, I am ready to be.
It made perfect sense.
Amazing.
Okay.
Like, yeah, okay, so from our perspective, like, from what Matt and I saw, like, this is the enemy, but from what you saw, this is just like some tortured being that you had a lot of sympathy for.
Yes, much like Thanos from Infinity War.
I
don't know what you're talking about because I have not seen it.
I got a Wolverine Weapon X vibe from it.
Okay,
No,
I
I
can
think
see
he's
what you're
more of
talking
a
about.
dick
Yeah.
at heart.
There is a thing where he talks about, like, how he could use this power to take over the world, right? But we know he's just a Pokemon, right? So, like, really, all he ever uses this power for is to beat up other Pokemon in a ring.
Like, he's like, I'm gonna take over the world, but then he reverts to, like, his instincts of just, like, nope, going to a match.
Getting in one-on-one fights with, like, a couple dudes. It's like if you get a text from your, like, drunken friend, and he's like, dude, you know, listen, I never say it enough, but we're fucking the coolest dudes. We can do whatever we want. And then, like, a couple hours later, you have to bail him out of jail because what he did after he sent you that text was go to a bar and punch a couple people. And you're like, come on, man. Like, you just talked about what your potential is. And instead, all you did was you punched a security guard.
Well, it's more like any type of animal suddenly becoming sentient and like, oh, I'm smart and I can actually do anything I want, and then reverting back to, like, you know, peeing on the street and chasing cars. The fact that he was beyond the intelligence of any human in Pokemon, and then suddenly reverts to, like, what every Pokemon does.
So you know what it was? Realizing what happened was right after that he meets Shadowface guy, who I guess is Giovanni.
Giovanni.
Right? Yeah. So he meets Shadowface Giovanni.
Is that mentioned, though, that he is Giovanni?
No, but you're supposed to know from context from watching the show, I think.
Oh. Okay.
Giovanni tells him he could take over the world, or he could do this other thing, and we know what Giovanni has in mind because we eventually see it is just beat up Pokemon. So there's this whole like arc that's happening in this beginning sequence where where it's like Mewtwo is like becoming more powerful, and like Giovanni's gonna use him for this ultimate purpose, but all Giovanni's gonna use him for is to beat up other Pokemon.
Yeah. Also,
just level your Persian up, dude.
He gives Mewtwo a mech suit, and then that's the only time you see it in the movie. He breaks the mech suit right away because he's so mad about it.
What does Giovanni gain from that, right? Like, he just starts winning Pokemon, and there's no, like, I'm putting bets on this, or, like, this is a gladiator arena. He's just like, yeah, I did it.
And there's no way of, like, gaining the power of the world through beating Pokemon either. It's just, like, it's just getting more Pokemon.
Yeah, he's just getting experience points or something, and he's like, yes. So Shadowface Guy eventually betrays Mewtwo, but it's, like, a little... how does Shadowface Guy betray Mewtwo specifically?
Just Mewtwo realizes that his end goal is just the same as the scientists, is to use him as like an object.
As a Pokemon.
Here's a question I have about Giovanni. All right, his face is literally always in the shadows. Mm-hmm. How do you do that? Does he show up to venues hours before and just like tests out all the lighting and it's like, all right, where's my face gonna be in the shadows the best? All right, okay,
if I guess I'm really
here,
tall?
well, you can still see a little bit of my nose. Yeah.
I think he's watched a lot of Inspector Gadget. I think his intro in the film is straight out of Claw from Inspector Gadget, where he's just petting a cat and you can't see his face.
Is his face ever revealed?
No.
Not as far as we know so far.
Not in this movie, but hey, maybe in future.
In the other.
We'll find out in episode 2 or 3 or 4. I have no idea. I actually don't remember.
No, but what if he's disfigured, y'all? Like, what if he doesn't have an actual face? Like, what if that's the reason?
Well, that's fine. That's a thing he has going on. We shouldn't make fun of him for it.
Now hold on a minute. I wasn't poking fun.
All right, ableist Ashley Stone.
I was saying, what if that's the reason?
Speaking of Ashley's,
yes.
So Mewtwo freaks out and runs away from Giovanni and smashes his armor, and then we cut to...
We meet our heroes.
And then the narrator changes his voice. He's like, life, the great miracle. And now let's see what Ash and Brock and Misty have going on here. They're having a picnic. So we have Ashley catch them all. We have Brock Rock Guy, and we have Misty Water Lady.
Yes.
And they're all having a picnic in the park.
Ash is very hungry. Brock is making... I'm going to find the ingredients for this, and we're going to eat it one day.
Okay,
Brock
do you want to say it together? Lazy Boy No Chew Stew.
Oh, wait, is it No Chew? I thought it was Milk Chew.
What?
Wait, repeat this, guys. I watched this like a few days ago, and I barely remember these lines. Say it. What do you think it is, Matt?
I think it's Lazy Boy No Chew. Like you don't chew it.
No Chew Stew.
I think it's Lazy Boy Milk Chew Stew. Like it's a type of milk that you can chew.
A type of milk you can chew. Bad milk. Yogurt.
It's called cheese.
Like cottage cheese?
And I'm ready to make it.
Oh, boy. All right, listeners, add us on Twitter. Is it called Lazy Boy Milk Chew Stew, or is it called Lazy Boy No Chew Stew? And then send us a recipe, and then we promise we'll make it and eat it on the show.
I'm not eating nothing called Milk Chew Stew, okay?
I would eat a candy called Milk Chew. Wouldn't you eat a candy called Milk Chew if it was like a
Milk Chew? Milk Chew Stew?
Like a chocolate candy, and inside
Chunky
is like a
milk.
creamy...
All right, Ashley, well, we'll have our Milk Chew Stew, and you can stay in New York and eat whatever food they eat up there.
Yeah, what do they eat in New York?
Good food?
I hear the bagels or something.
The bagels, the pizza. We have New York pizza. Because I heard a good old-fashioned slice.
Oh, we don't have any of that here.
Yeah, they only have it in New York.
Only in New York.
Only in New York.
So, Ashley and Misty and Brock are hanging out in the park, like feeding their Pokemon
Yes.
food or whatever, human food, which probably is bad for the
Oh,
Pokemon.
I never thought about that.
Yeah, and then
I got some theories that will
Oh, I gotta hear
explain
these
that. I
theories.
think
Okay.
we'll get there. It's all in good time.
some rando, just some random dude just comes up and he's like, "Are you Ash?" He's like the most generic, like if they wanted to capture the video game, they fucking did it, because it's just a generic dude who walks up and he's like, "Hey, are you Ash?"
Except
Yeah.
he's dressed fly as hell. Dude is wearing just an open vest with no shirt, shaved head, and a baggy pair of pants.
Hey,
I like how
I want to do a battle with you. Prepare for fighting me.
I'm so confused why Ash is so well known. He's 12 years old and he owns like 3 Pokemon, and I don't understand.
And most of them seem to be level 7,
And they're
right?
all,
Because
they all suck. And I don't understand like how he's so well known and popular when he's just like this kid who just left his home.
Right.
Like
Some
ran
dude
away.
shows up and this dude throws a Don fan out, and I think like Fanfi. Pat, you say your thing, because I'm gonna look up what level Fanfi evolves into Don fan.
As this guy challenges him. They get into the first fight. The first Pokemon knocks Ash's. What is his first one? It's
hold on. Yeah,
I think it's the
Don fan versus
Bulbasaur
Bulbasaur.
So he
Jesus.
And at this point, the theme song from the TV show starts
Yeah,
playing,
yeah.
but like a weird, sexy version.
Yeah,
it's
like
I wanna be the very
That,
best.
okay, that was one of the notes that I took. That was the one of the worst remixes I've ever heard. It was unbearable. Like that was
pretty bad.
one of the parts of the movie. Like, wanna be the very best.
I gotta say-
no one ever was.
I gotta say, not quite as bad as the song they chose for the final fight scene in the
Oh
movie.
my
But I'm sure
God.
we'll get there in a minute.
Patrick.
But so this Don fan starts
Don.
wrecking the Bulbasaur, and then the Bulbasaur busts out one move and crushes him. And from there on out, every battle between these two, Ash is taking him out in one-shot kills. Each of his Pokemon just has one move that knocks him down. Like one
He
punch
must
man.
be hacking. Okay, this is some real fucking Pokemon shit. Fanfi evolves into Donphan at level 25, right? So Donphan is at least level 25. Bulbasaur evolves into Ivysaur at level 16. So Bulbasaur is under level 16.
Damn.
So, like, how he
What is going on?
KOs this weird, like, also, some other, like, deep Pokemon trivia, not that deep, but deeper maybe than you guys go, is Donphan is Gen 2. Donphan is Gold and Silver.
Sure.
You guys know this?
Nope.
You guys know all about these things?
No.
Just
You guys-
Ashley, just say yes.
I believe this is the first ever appearance of Donphan.
Oh, damn.
Oh, interesting.
I believe that Gold and Silver were not out yet at the
No,
time
they
of this
were not.
movie.
No.
So,
Gold and Silver came along long after that.
right, so I bet kids were watching this movie and fucking jizzed their pants at this moment. Okay, so the next up, dude throws him a Machamp. Ash throws a Squirtle, kills the Machamp in one hit. With Bubble.
That's right.
With Bubble, which is
And
an
that was
attack I
the
still
worst-
don't understand.
The worst attack.
So then the dude freaks out and throws out a
Wouldn't you?
Pinsir, a Venomoth, and a Golem all at the same time. Crazy powerful Pokemon. Pikachu comes out. The sexy intro song hits its like peak.
The very
And then
best.
Pikachu goes, Chew! Can any of you guys do a good Pikachu impression?
Pikachu.
All right, and then all 3 of them die. So I can't. This is the ultimate mystery about Pokemon: is what is Ash good at? Because it's not anything, but clearly it's everything, right?
But see, now it makes sense why he's so popular and famous. Is to be like, holy shit, this kid has like Pokemon that haven't evolved past their first stage and are whooping ass. Like,
Yeah, well, he's friends with each one of his Pokemon, and this is going to end up being the moral of the story, is that I guess the way to be the strongest is to be good friends.
that's how all the boxing matches go.
He was like, I'm really good friends with my fists. That's what Muhammad Ali always said. He's like, float like a butterfly, make friends with both of your fists.
Yes.
I call this one butterfly, I call this one bee, and I love them so much. And he would just like tongue kiss them on national television.
Yeah, he'd make a mouth with his hand and just make out with
put
his
lipstick
hand.
on.
Yeah.
So then, okay, Team Rocket shows up. They're spying from the hill.
Yeah.
And they're like, we want Pikachu. And it's like, why? It's like, why? That's a pretty common Pokemon. Just hang around.
Well, I mean, hold on a minute. Did you just see what happened? Why they want that Pikachu?
Yeah, like a Pikachu that could destroy
They can destroy
three.
anything.
I mean,
No
my thought is
wonder.
just like hang around Viridian Forest for a couple, like you get 30 encounters, you're gonna find a Pikachu.
No, but there's something
like
special
this
about
Pikachu-
Ash's. Yeah.
yeah, somehow this Pikachu can kill anything with one chew. And then a Fearow flies overhead with a camera on his collar. So at some point, Mewtwo went out, caught a Fearow, held it down, bought a camera, strapped the camera to its neck.
We're pretty sure, right? It's never confirmed that
A GoPro?
that's who's watching that feed. It's just
Right.
you see that bird with a camera attached to its neck.
Oh, you mean it might come
Spying.
back in future movies?
Yeah, maybe.
And there might be a deeper story about the camera Fearow.
I would love there to be a separate movie about the camera.
I want to see what else the camera Fearow camera captures like.
I want to see the tragic story he went through.
It's just stealing garbage from. And then a Dragonite flies in and extends some weird invite. How does this happen? There's like a hologram or something.
It's like
there's a
holographic
hologram
card.
inside of it
It's the Princess Leia
type
invitation.
thing, and
Which is the introduction of Brock's like unrelenting horniness.
Yes, Brock is horny throughout this entire film, and it's one of the only things that makes it kind of interesting, just because he's just so horny throughout the whole thing.
Yeah,
and
he's losing his mind over this tiny
there
little
is so
hologram
much
of a
shit
woman.
going down, and the only thing he's thinking about is the hot nurse.
Yeah.
And he honestly hasn't once considered Misty.
But have you seen Misty, man? The way she acts.
She's got a Psyduck.
Yeah, that's true.
I would date her for that alone.
Yeah. Misty,
So
hold on, real quick. Misty, do or don't do?
Do? I mean, she's clearly like a child.
You're right. I'm sorry.
Matt's got an adult girlfriend.
I totally forget.
I've got an adult
His
girlfriend. I don't
adult
need to settle
girlfriend.
for Misty, the gym. But she is a gym leader, so that's kind of hot.
Forgot they're all like 12 years old.
Yeah.
Oops.
So
So the little hologram comes up, and there is this woman dressed in like a Victorian dress.
yeah, like a Handmaid's Tale.
Hands exactly in like a bonnet for some reason.
Yeah.
And what is she like? She offers a formal invitation to her master's home.
Yeah.
Yeah, her
So what
master,
happened?
and Brock is thirsty as hell.
And suddenly Brock, like, he's just like looking at like how what was okay. So the first thing he says, he's like, she's really small, but she's really pretty.
Yeah, I wrote that down too.
That phrase got stuck in my head. I had this earworm in my head for a week of just like every time like there was like an attractive person, like she's really small, but she's really pretty.
First of all, Earworm is my favorite Pokemon.
Yes,
Second
yes.
of all, yeah, that's one of the best. That's one of the best lines of this whole movie. She's really small, but she's
really
It's like he
pretty.
doesn't understand what he's looking at. It's like if I was looking at porn on my computer and being like, "Man, these people are really sexy, but they're all so small."
And I was like, man, that's really small, but it's really hot.
It feels like in his mind he's trying to figure out if he can date the hologram.
No, that's what I think it is that he literally doesn't know that this is just a hologram. And it also, he's being like, just because she's small, like, maybe she shouldn't be attractive. I really like that idea of him, like, being so surprised that a small person is attractive.
I And then, so then right after that, there's a 20-minute scene of Mewtwo swirling his hand around while the sea boils.
That was really weird.
It was so long. It
don't-
happened so long, and I have no idea what happened. We saw Mew for a second, but I have no idea. Did Mewtwo summon Mew, or was Mewtwo just playing with water, and Mew noticed it and was like, "Okay, I'll play in this game."
I struggle to understand the animosity towards Mew at all, because Mewtwo is like a creation based from Mew, correct?
Yeah.
So, but I don't understand why he's so angry at Mew then. Like, I genuinely...
Do we know he's angry? Like, at that point, do we know he's angry at Mew?
I don't know. It's just like
he says something rude about Mew.
Oh, yeah, he says fuck Mew.
Yeah,
he says fuck
I
Mew into the...
I wrote that down. I have that.
Yeah,
in my notes.
Yeah, I wrote down too. Mewtwo says "fuck Mew." It's a quote from the movie.
I think it's like resenting your dad for being more successful than you.
Your younger dad, your younger, cuter, smaller dad, your younger, cuter, smaller, pinker dad.
All right, Matt, I get it. You like my dad.
So then I don't know what the Ashley catch them all. Misty and Broccoli go to the Pokemon Center. And there's a person doing a terrible Russian accent. There's some lady doing a terrible...
Wait. First of all, this is my favorite scene of the movie. Second of all, that person doing the terrible accent and her partner have the best dynamic in the entire movie.
It's true. Now,
Okay.
and hold on. How do we... Was it a Russian accent or just like an Eastern European accent?
I thought it was like a North African accent.
It was a very
Tweet at us hashtag Pokemon accent and let us know what you think the woman
No,
is.
but like it was just a very nondescript, like really, like you couldn't pinpoint exactly where she was from.
Yeah.
It was like this weird European
Pokemon
something. Yeah.
Vaguely foreign.
It was just very strange.
Storm happening
and I remember-
outside, and I think you should stay inside. Do you think that sounded like it?
Kind of.
Do you guys think that sounded like
It
it?
was a weird Slavic-esque kind of accent.
There's two people in charge of telling all these trainers that they're not going to be able to get to Mew Island because the ferry is canceled because of this crazy storm. And one of them is this woman, and she tells this incredibly solemn, sad story about how
Pokemon crying.
all the Pokemon died, but it's told that the human tears brought it back to life. Like she just this story of a Pokemon.
Wait, no, a human died. No, you got it backwards.
Okay,
and this is very important. A human died, and all the Pokemon tears.
cried.
So
This
she's
is
telling the
absolutely
story of a genocide in her vague foreign accent, and then as soon as she's done, the other one goes, and that's why you can't board the ferry. That is my favorite moment of that movie. It was a legitimate. I think they did that on purpose, and it was the funniest thing I've seen. Also, sorry, I want to point one more thing. This is a visual gag. I don't know if it's a gag or an error in translation, but they mentioned that the nurse is missing. Clearly, the woman that's like the handmaiden of Mew. They mentioned that she's missing. The missing poster itself says "Wanted, a missing person." And it's set up like an old-timey wanted poster.
Dead or alive, any missing person. But then Brock starts jerking off over it.
Yes!
He's like, oh,
He's
she's
like,
so pretty.
Right, she's so pretty.
And it's like, dude,
And
settle the
It's like,
fuck
guy,
down.
do you see what's happening right now? Like, the world is ending. Calm your horniness. Like,
Pull
just
up
keep it in
Tinder
your pants for
on
a
your fucking
second.
Pokedex.
Like, genuinely, like, Brock is blinded by horniness throughout the entire movie.
He's so horny. He's so horny, and like I've never once seen a picture of somebody that's gone missing and thought, oh, I'd fuck that.
Would definitely do. Yeah. Anyway,
In
I
future
wonder if she's
movies,
single.
in future movies, this will prove to be his fatal flaw.
You think so? You think this is gonna come
Brock's
back up?
lust is what takes him down.
Hopefully us watching Brock get horny every week doesn't like corrupt the three of us and turn us into like toxic masculine. They say yeah, the storm is really bad, you can't get to Mew Island, please don't. And then like 3 people go, fuck you, I'm doing it anyway. And they run out the door and they jump on their Pokemon and they fly away. And as soon as she makes this big impassioned warning, and as soon as people ignore it, she goes, hey, that's just why they're such good trainers. And it's like, well then what was the point? Why did you say any of that?
And then the gang,
The
Misty,
gang, our
Misty
heroes.
Brock and Ash Ketchum decide to hitch a ride on. It's a Starmie, right? That's what the starfish with the gem in it is called.
Yeah, well, there's a Staryu. Yeah, that's Staryu. I don't think it's...
Oh, Staryu.
The
Sorry.
the brown
Starmie
one is
is
Staryu. Starmie is the
evolved version.
The purple one with the more... Yeah. Fucking the heroes of our story never evolve their Pokemon. They are never... They are not that good at this game.
Well, so most Pokemon communicate by just saying their name in different ways.
Yeah.
Right.
Staryu, I found, just I'm gonna just as this. I'm gonna do my impression.
Okay.
That's all it's doing as they're swimming. It's panicking and it's going. I wrote it in my notes as starfish is just coughing.
Speaking of coughing, Team Rocket shows back up.
Oh my
and they're
God.
Dressed as Vikings, and there's such a good joke here.
Oh, let's hear it.
Did any of you guys write this down?
I
Okay.
didn't write it down. I know exactly.
One of them says, "It's who are they?" And the other one says, "It seems like they're Vikings." And the other says, "I didn't know they still existed." And Ash says, "I think they mostly live in Minnesota."
Oh my God. I
Which
forgot
is a
about that
fucking
joke.
Solid,
good
such
joke.
A dumb fucking.
It's
You
a
know-
good joke.
Good
though.
joke.
That's a good joke. Fucking
That's because that's the first
moment
even
of respite.
even minute adult moment of that film.
That's the first moment where you're like, okay, a human being is writing this film. With human emotions and a human sense of humor. And so, Team Rocket, they're trying to kidnap Pikachu, but they pretend that they're gonna help our heroes cross this raging sea, and instead their boat breaks.
Yeah, well, they didn't really have a scheme here other than get them on the boat.
And we'll figure it out. Yeah. We're clever. We got this. It was like, guys, you aren't. The boat falls apart.
Right.
They get lost in the waves. Togepi just disappears. Do you notice that?
Oh yeah.
There's just no Togepi. And I was worried about what happened to it. It just reappears later, completely
just
unharmed
gets
for
back
no.
in the runs.
Yeah, but as they're falling overboard, there's just no Togepi, and it was Ash, right, who has the idea. Guys, go under the waves, and I don't know if that I don't know how the dynamics of raging seas, like in a storm, but do you just go under the waves and everything's fine?
In a raging I mean, I've never been in the sea during a raging storm.
We should
so
go
I
try.
probably
All right, for
would
episode
not.
2, we're gonna
Okay.
go to the beach during a storm, and we're all gonna try to get.
Yeah, try swimming.
Okay, fabulous. Yeah, I'll take you guys to Rockaway, and we'll wait for the tide to come in.
But
Fabulous.
miraculously, they swim through the water, and then they show up at Mike One's castle.
Yes. This is
Right.
Is this where I can get excited about the evil lair?
Yes. All right. So this is Mike One's evil lair. He calls it. Okay. Hold on. First, can I say he calls it New Island? That's the okay, so this is a guy who smashed his tank because he was so angry that somebody called him Mewtwo, and his idea of naming a secret lair is calling it New Island because it's a new island.
I thought it was Mew Island.
I thought it was Mew Island too.
All right, to Wikipedia. Yeah. After Mewtwo fully matures and awakens in a long slumber in a laboratory on New Island.
No.
He escapes back to New Island where he plots his revenge against humanity. Yeah, it's called
Cool.
New Island. They arrive at New Island. Really
amazing.
really brilliant
I like it.
naming convention.
I like it.
After, I mean, now that was this movie was back in 1999. Now it's Old Island, but for a time it was New
Woof.
Island.
Okay, so we get to see New Island.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go over just my list of things that I love about this as a villain's lair, and
Okay.
some of which we'll see later, but I'm just gonna go over it all. Number one, as I said earlier, bunch of arms as a security system. It's a castle. It's a Gothic castle with windmills on every tower, which is cool as hell. It's got a dock that's in a cave that you have to swim up to with steep steps that are just carved into the ground, carved into the stone itself, leading up to 50-foot doors that open by themselves. That might just be Mew's psychic energy, but they open by themselves. You have to walk through a bunch of waterfalls to get to these doors. Once you're there, you go into the main room, and there is a table just carved out of the stone that's coming up from the ground.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of just psychedelic colors all over this crystal-looking table, all over the walls, everywhere. Team Rocket finds a secret aqueduct entrance, which is just the pinnacle of secret layers.
Here's the thing I have a problem with. Mew is the greatest psychic on Earth.
Right.
Sure.
He couldn't detect the Team Rocket infiltrated his fortress. The two dumbest human beings on the Earth. Their mental defenses were too impenetrable for this ultimate psychic being.
You know what? That is true. Like, Team Rocket tends to get into places that, like, the regular heroes can never actually get into.
Yeah.
But somehow Team Rocket just kind of shows up.
Yeah,
Maybe
they're
And is there.
Maybe they're so stupid they don't even register to psychics.
What I
like,
think,
oh, he's like, is that another? No, that must just be a mollusk.
what I was thinking was that they're just so dumb that Mew just sort of ignores it. He's like, there's no risk whatsoever.
oh, this
and
is
just sort
funny.
of like just keeps going about his day.
Okay, so so Team Rocket enters through the aqueduct, and
Yeah, I think the aqueduct entrance itself is really good. That's like a staple of an evil lair. They do have not just psychedelic colored lighting everywhere, but it's adjustable. You can change the brightness of it. You can change the color of it at will, apparently. They have a giant coil slide in the middle that Mewtwo has perfectly decided to use as just a chamber that he can float down. I think he makes a great grand entrance as a supervillain. They have fountains on the walls that are just faces. They're human faces, and the water comes out of the mouth. That's creepy as hell. They have Star Trek style doors, but instead of 2 panels that just separate, it's 5 panels in like a star shape that separate. That's really creative. A creepy clone basement, of course, with a video that has a recording of scientists dying and explaining why this clone basement is here.
right, that's a thing that's a thing I want to talk about. What is that recording? Like, it's a incredibly poorly. Who edited that video? Right, like, it's so poorly edited. It's like all in chunks, but clearly it's not like a bunch of. It's not like somebody's like popping out a tape and putting in another, like, half recorded tape and putting in another one. There's like this like super what's the word? Expositional tape.
Yeah.
That's clearly an edited video. Clearly somebody sat there using Pro Tools or whatever and edited this video together. And there's this, because especially even when the video cuts out and there's just like static, there's a through line of audio. There's like narration over top of it that explains the entire plot.
It's great. I think I may have taken us a few steps ahead here, but
Yeah.
my last point about the evil lair is that there's also a stadium built into the back of it, which is amazing. And it's set up for any sport, really. They use it for Pokemon battles, but you could play, I would say, anything but baseball on that.
Right. So I wanna address some things before we get there.
Yeah,
because it turns out that the storm was that crazy storm was a thing that when we were watching Mew swirl his hands around for an hour, that's what he was doing. He was creating a storm, which we now know. And and apparently the storm was a trial for any trainer that could get through the trial was worthy of fighting Mewtwo. So it's a bunch of trainers with like really well-rounded teams. really
Right.
high-level, well-rounded teams.
And
And then Ash, who has like 4 Pokemon, all of which are level 1.
The 12-year-old who has like the 1-level Pokemon.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
at this point, the 40-minute mark, if you include the prologue, Psyduck makes his first appearance.
Yeah, at that point, Mewtwo says he is the ruler of New Island, and soon the whole world. Again, really pointing at the stands on this one. And then it turns out that the 2 women that Brock was jizzing over, both the woman in the hologram and this is what I want to talk about for a moment. The woman in the hologram and the missing woman were the same person. They were Nurse Joy.
Yes.
Did Mewtwo sit down and knit that outfit for her? Where did her outfit come from?
That is
he kidnapped her. He puts her in an outfit. Did he go buy it? Did he make it
Was
himself?
it there already? Was it like for someone else? Was it someone he already killed and he was using their clothing?
Was it a sexy fetish outfit that doctor with the dead kid made?
Maybe it's what she wears normally, and then she changes into the nurse uniform when she gets to work.
And he's like, oh, perfect. You look exactly like a henchman. I'll kidnap you. Then, Then it shows Team Rocket busting in, and Mew's playing a little cute game with them. Mew follows them through these like tunnels as they find their way to the cloning machine that Mewtwo has resurrected. He's taken the machine that cloned him and turned it into this really fucking gross machine that like pukes out cloned Pokemon.
Yeah, with little stripes on them.
It sucks Meowth in, and there's another good joke here, where for a moment it shows the outline of Mew on the screen, and Team Rocket goes, "Who's that Pokemon?" Which is a reference to the TV show.
Yeah. That's a fun joke until they do it over and
19
over
times,
and over again 10 minutes later.
Then there's that poorly edited video, and then Mewtwo calls all Pokemon slaves. And Pikachu, a complicit slave who is contributing to the slavery of all of the Pokemon.
But he does not reference, like, Pikachu as the leader of the Pokemon.
That's his whole problem with Pikachu. He's like, oh, you're a willing slave. That makes you the worst of all.
Yeah, he kind of, I think he was, maybe I'm remembering this wrong, but he does kind of like look in his direction to say that, but he's talking to the trainers more than he's talking to any of the Pokemon at this point.
Right, because they're trying to defend him. Like, they're trying to defend, like, their Pokemon, and Mewtwo's like, well, no, they're the worst because they chose to serve humans. Like, then
Mewtwo hits Pikachu.
That's right. He was addressing Pikachu, but I don't think he referring to Pikachu as like the leader of the influencer of the Pokemon.
Well, he was referring to Pikachu as a bigger problem than the enslaved Pokemon. Like Pokemon are slaves, and you're even worse because you're doing it on purpose. You think that you're friends with them, and then he hits Pikachu.
Yeah.
That's true. That sucked. I don't like watching people hit Pikachu.
That was the worst scene in the movie. Although, at that point, Mewtwo has one trick, right? Which is people run at him to attack him, and he throws up this barrier, and they bounce off it, and every single time they're surprised.
Well, no, he's got a full range of telekinetic powers at that point. He is just picking up these Pokemon and sending them at the wall.
Eventually that happens, yeah.
None of the other trainers have names, right? They don't name a single... There's 5 other trainers in that room. None of them have a name, but they all try to fight.
That's true. And I have here the cloning process is gross as fuck, so I guess it cuts to that for a minute.
That's also
because again, it just pukes out these. And then
that's right.
Then all of a sudden, a regulation-sized Pokemon Stadium appears. So Mewtwo thinks that Pokemon are slaves, and it's a shame. But he doesn't think it that hard because he makes a regulation-sized Pokemon Stadium and he follows the rules of a Pokemon battle.
Very strange that he had the forethought of, like, you know, if they come here, I'm going to need a stadium to fight them in. To be that angry about how Pokemon are used and yet to anticipate that he's going to be used in that way also.
Yeah, that he's going to be creating clones just like himself, which he resents so much. He's still doing that just to make them fight to prove his point.
That's all he does. He makes them fight. He makes a Blastoise fight another Blastoise. This is a thing. Also, Mewtwo's really bad at type matchups. Because the guy pulls out a Blastoise and he's like, well, I'll fight him with a Blastoise. The guy pulls out a Blastoise named Shell Shocker. Mm-hmm. Mewtwo just pulls out a random Blastoise with like a mark on his face.
Yeah.
Ash pulls out his Charizard. He pulls out just a Charizard with a mark on his face.
Classic Ash.
This is another thing. At that point, Mewtwo or Mikeone chumps Charizard or chumps Ash by saying your Charizard is poorly trained. Isn't that a plus in your book, dog? Isn't that your whole thing?
This is a Charizard displaying his free will. Why are you so mad about that?
Well, wasn't it like I felt like that was like a snarky way of like, oh yeah, you think that they're slaves to you, you own these things.
But they
I
don't
saw
even
that as like kind of a sarcastic snark.
Yeah, that's fair. He's just saying you don't even know what you're doing and
Right,
enslaving
exactly.
these.
Like, oh look, he's
Interesting.
not as trained. Well.
Then a Venusaur named. Then that woman pulls out a Venusaur named Broop Broop. Or is it the man who pulls out a Venusaur named Broop Broop and the woman has the Blastoise named Shell Shocker?
I think that's how it goes.
Okay, so the man pulls out a Venusaur named Broop Broop, which is a pretty dope Venusaur name.
Yeah.
And Mewtwo's like, I know what'll beat this thing. Another Venusaur with some marks on his face. So he still wins, but like I kept imagining during that point, like when a Blastoise uses like a water move on another Blastoise, that on both Mikeone and whoever that trainer is screens, it must have popped up. It's not very effective.
Yeah.
Right? But there is.
I like that idea that those notifications pop up in their mind, like they actually
He's like, damn it!
exist
I
in
used
the
the wrong.
Pokemon
I should have used
world.
tackle. But there is a moment where the two Charizards are fighting in front of the moon, and it looks so good.
Yeah.
There's some pretty good visuals in this movie. And then Mikeone says, my storm will destroy the planet, which also is not really how weather works.
Yeah, that's a whole other angle he must have been working that we didn't see. He
Noah's
definitely
flood, man.
mentions that he's going to destroy the world with his storm, presumably the one that he created by swirling his hand around.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, you go for it, man, but at least give us some context so that we know that that's something you're trying to do.
Then every Pokemon, then he throws a bunch of balls out. They all catch every Pokemon immediately without like any shakes, without like any damage done to the Pokemon. They just catch them immediately, except for Ash's Pokemon are able to like
They put up a fight. They
fight.
struggle a little bit.
And Ash is like, well, I'll bring them. I'll recall them to my balls, and you won't get them, which is a smart move. But then the balls capture the other balls, which comes up later when they pop out. The balls pop out, and then the Pokemon pop out of them. But then Pikachu outruns the fuck out of them.
Right.
Yeah, he's killing it.
But this is the thing. This is the thing that bothers me about this whole movie, and it bothers me about Pokemon in general. This stuff happens without being earned, right? Like Pikachu is not the fastest of those Pokemon.
No.
Pikachu is not the best or most powerful of those Pokemon, but like he's the only one that can outrun all those balls. And when he does his attack, it destroys all the balls around him. Why is Pikachu so good?
You know why, Matt?
Why?
Because he's got a good friend.
Very powerful friendship.
It's just Ash sucks so bad, but his Pokemon win every time. And the reason is just because they do.
Ash tries to run up that fucking spiral slide, and he somehow just, like, running in a straight line, falls off the side of it and has to hang on to hope that he doesn't fall off.
It's like
Ash
when
is the absolute worst.
Ash
you're
is
playing a
really
video-
bad. We're gonna get into this later, but Ash is just
Ash
the
sucks so.
worst.
It's like when you're playing a video game and you forget to change the camera angle, so you run off the edge of the surface.
Well, it's kind of like in Mario 64, where you're going down that spiral slide, and there's like a secret way where you can just kind of slide off the shortcut.
Oh, yeah. Maybe he had a banana
Yeah, he was
peel.
trying to do one of those.
So Pikachu gets caught. Ash jumps after him, steals Pikachu back. The clones all pop out, and then
This was one of my favorite moments of the movie. This is one of those really like sincerely touching moments, I think, is when Ash finds Pikachu and then his Squirtle and his Bulbasaur, and they're all so happy to be back in each other's arms. Like,
Yeah.
they all just have this big group hug, and everybody, even just through like the Bulbasaur going Bulba, like you can tell that he's just so relieved that for a moment he thought he was never going to see Ash again, and now they're all back together.
that is touching. You're right.
It's
That
a
is good
very
moment.
nice moment. It's like very sincere, and I was touched by that.
So the clones all get puked out of this machine.
Yes.
And then the real Pokemon all pop back out of their balls because Ash smashes the machine or something?
Yeah, he breaks it by breaking through the Thousand Arms security system.
Yeah, Ash versus the Thousand Arm security system, which we thought the reason Mewtwo broke out of it was because he was so powerful, but this
No.
skinny little dumb boy just like punches his way through it.
Ash, who still hasn't eaten, by the way, he was very hungry at the start of the movie, went into this series of events, but even without food, is able to break through the security system.
So then it cuts back to the arena.
I want to pose a question here.
Yeah.
So at this point, Mewtwo is just talking to all the trainers about his grand plan,
Yeah.
and they're all Pokemon-less, and he's talking about, like, now it's time to enter Phase 2.
This might be my... Yeah.
What's he going to do with all those trainers?
Well, that's my question also. I have a further question. He finished his speech.
Right.
And then Ash spends like 12 minutes down there freeing all the Pokemon. Is Mewtwo just standing there staring at the trainers like I kind of said all
I didn't really think past this part. Now
like,
I just
"Alright."
was here. I mean, I have guest rooms, I guess.
You could just go to bed. We can watch. I mean, have you guys seen Love on Netflix? It's pretty good.
Yeah, no, it's
We can
alright.
watch
It's alright.
that. We can
I have Love Actually on DVD. If you guys want to, anyone. Oh man.
So, I invite all these trainers to my lair. I take all of their Pokemon. Well, anyway, then I take over the world.
Yeah, exactly. Oh.
Right, he doesn't have like a trainer killing machine, like
I
a
love
trainer
it.
masher.
He like takes out his list of like to do things, like it's all crossed off.
And he's like,
All right, get that to
okay.
the storm, get the
and
Pokemon.
he turns to the guy with the really good Pokemon team, and he's like, "Hey, do you know what I should do next?"
So, do you guys want to, like, I guess, Pokemon? Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I took all your Pokemon.
That's right. The
So while they're standing there, Ash interrupts this awkward moment, and I bet all of them are like, "Fucking thank God." Ash runs in and
Spends 10 seconds walking away from the explosion that he sets in motion.
and Mike immediately like tries to murder Ash. Like does a psychic attack on Ash and tries to murder, like throws a psychic, like what was it, like psychic wave at Ash, meant to murder him.
Mm-hmm.
And Mew appears just in the next time, and he's like, and saves Ash. Actually catch them all.
Actually catch them all, yes.
And then Mewtwo fights Mew for basically no reason. He says, a Pokemon's real strength comes from the heart. But if that's true, then why is he so mad at Pikachu? That's the whole thing.
We did neglect to mention that Ash just straight up runs up to Mewtwo and tries to punch him in the stomach. That's his first thought. I'll punch this guy in the stomach.
I love him saying this guy, too. Like, I'm going to get this guy.
And then the thing I wrote down after Mew jumps in front of that psychic wave and saves Ash is, and you're going to hate me for this, but Deus Ex Mukina?
I think I've just had enough beer to laugh at that.
Thank you.
So let's hope let's hope that our listeners have had 2.5 beers, or they will not find that funny.
Okay, great.
up
I am
top that they
totally
should
sober. Maybe
drink.
that explains why I didn't laugh.
Okay, so Mewtwo fights Mew for basically no reason. He says the Pokemon's real strength comes from the heart, and then he says that he blocked all the Pokemon's special abilities using psychic powers.
Okay.
So they just start punching each other.
Yeah.
That's like the rest of the movie is a bunch of Pokemon punching. It's like the next 15 minutes is a bunch of Pokemon punching each other while a crazy song plays.
Just back and forth too. Just like one slaps
Yeah.
one, the other slaps the other.
Like a YouTube video from a frat house. Just like, all right, you punch me, then I'll punch you, and
Yeah, they
whoever.
do take turns, which I think is
Who-
really weird. They're like, okay, go. All right, cool. I'm gonna go now.
And no one, Ash can't do anything about it because it takes him 10 minutes to climb down from a very tall tower. So it's just Pokemon punching each other by taking turns, and Ash climbing down from a tower, and that's like a 5 minute, and Mew and Mewtwo fighting for a reason we don't really understand, and it's like 5 minutes.
All while I Want It That Way by the Backstreet Boys plays in the back.
There's this crazy pop song that plays.
Wait, oh my god.
Yeah.
If I could get a hold of the soundtrack, this is one of the weirdest movie soundtracks I've ever heard in my life.
Also, there's another thing that happens during this. While everyone's punching each other, Pikachu is just fucking falling in love with his own clone.
Yeah.
Like, the clone is punching him, and Pikachu's like, I love you. And the clone punches him
Oh,
again, and
that's
he's
right.
like, I want you so bad.
No, hit me again. No, do it again. No, hit me one more time. Harder.
And then the trainers, is it one of the trainers says, why can't Mike, well, he says Mewtwo, but why can't Mikeone, why can't Mewtwo
Why can't Mike?
Why can't Mike 1 see that fighting Pokemon is wrong? And it's like, that's all you do! That's all any of you do! That's your job! That's your professional job that you do for money!
He says, I wrote this quote down.
Yeah.
It's not right to force Pokemon to fight this way.
Only our way!
Yeah, it's only okay if we say they should fight.
Okay, again, this feels like a terrible one of those like North versus South slavery arguments. Right?
Sort of, because that's Mewtwo's whole point is like you're all slaves and you're too stupid to understand it, but I'm here to free you.
But the trainers that we're supposed to identify with are like the South, which is like, yeah, but we treat our slaves well. You're treating
feed 'em. God.
You're like the North. You're trying to set them free, but you're treating them poorly. That's the fucking that's like the racism in the Civil War era. Is that what this movie is about? Is this movie a pro-Confederacy slavery movie?
Oh my god.
Neither of you guys.
Let's not go down that rabbit hole.
It's
but
just
it's
I just
established.
feel like we've really gone off the rails on this one right now.
All right.
And this is only the first Pokemon
This is
movie.
the first book. Why don't you just get even more like, guys, was that last Pokemon movie like anti-Semitic to you guys? Like, did that feel a little?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think this Pokemon movie, I do think that there is racial insensitivity happening in this Pokemon movie. I think even like the use of the word slaves is like evoking an ideology that they do not have a good grasp on.
Yeah, because the moral of the story in the end is that no, it's actually okay.
It's actually okay, and Mewtwo was worse, actually. Mewtwo, who wanted to set them free, was worse because he was mean to them. So
Oh my
so
God.
Pikachu's falling in love with this other clone,
Yes.
while the other Pikachu slaps him for like a really long time.
Really
like a
hard.
Mewtwo swirling his arm around for a long time.
Yeah, like spooning food into your mouth. Long time. It's just this is here to fill.
It's just we came in 5 minutes under for this movie, so please just keep
They won't let us call it a movie if it's less than an hour.
yeah.
The end is just the Pikachu slapping Pikachu over and over and
And
over.
then, Ash runs at Mew, tries to punch him in the stomach again. He turns to stone. Okay, and I have a question about this.
Yeah.
Turns him to stone. Pikachu gets really sad, runs up to Ash, tries
Right.
to electrify him to life.
Right.
Okay, the first draft of this movie, Ash died, right? In the first draft of this movie,
Yes.
Ash is not turned to stone.
Ash died.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He's dead.
Definitely.
Yes.
But then they were like,
and then
oh.
somebody's like, "This is a kids movie, guys. You can't.
You
do this."
can't kill the main character. You can't
Right.
kill the main protagonist
So
of
can you
the
just-
film.
Can you just recolor that a sprite of him earlier in the movie gray? And he
Right.
can just be turned to stone. Because it doesn't make any sense. No psychic power has ever turned a human being to stone.
Exactly.
Right? So, I mean, wait, not, I mean, there's no psychic powers in real life, but I mean, even in fiction. I'm getting punchy, guys. It's like midnight now, and I'm.
Is it midnight? It is
No,
not.
it's 11. It's
It's
11.
11.
It's 11. It's 11. It's 11. I lied
You're
to
a
impress
liar.
the listeners.
Oh, okay.
And then, do you guys remember the story from the beginning?
Yeah. So all of the humans died, and only the Pokemon's tears could bring them back to life.
Oh, that's
all
right.
All the Pokemon, even the ones who hated Ash, start crying. And all their tears turn into glitter.
They start crying.
Turn to
My favorite
glitter.
is the what's the big like sea dragon looking ones? What do you call that?
Gyarados?
Gyarados.
There's two Gyarados that just
The Gyarados.
openly start bawling. They just and start like
Okay, so Mike 1 is like, oh, I guess I made a mistake here.
yeah, he's touched.
And he takes everyone, sends them back home, and this is a thing we're gonna have to talk about a lot. So he runs away into the sky with all the cloned Pokemon, and he mind wipes every Pokemon or every person, and then it cuts back to that scene where they were all in the Poke Center, but Nurse Joy shows up, and Brock is now both into Nurse Joy and Officer Jenny.
Well, of course.
And then the storm ends, and everyone says it's a miracle, which is a really low bar for miracles. Like a storm stopping, like that happens literally every day on the planet. And then everyone's like, "All right, we're good."
This happens. This is an exact quote from the movie.
Okay.
They are in the Seaport Pokemon Center and are trying to figure out how they got there because their memory has been wiped clean.
Right.
And somebody says, "Well, I guess we're just here because we're here."
That was Misty.
And everyone accepts that. Everyone's like, "Oh, yeah,
good point."
I think that they're traveling around the country doing psychedelic drugs." And that's the only situation in which that is a reasonable excuse for how
Guys.
the hell did I get to this island?
One, I want to walk outside after the rain has stopped and just like be totally amazed, let
It's a
down my umbrella and be like,
miracle.
"It's a miracle. I can't believe it stopped raining." Two,
It's never stopped raining.
Two, imagine you're with a group of friends and suddenly it dawns on you that you don't know how you got to the place that you are. You are suddenly, you were on a boat at one point, and now you're standing on a dock with two of your friends, and you don't know how you got there. And you say, "How did we get here?" to one of your friends, and your friend just says, "We're here because we're here."
You'd
And
be
that's
like,
enough for you.
you'd be like, "Okay, Kevin, shut up. I'm asking a real question."
No, everyone should. I can't think. Oh Jesus! Wow, what just happened last night? Oh God, what is
Yeah.
this scar from? But yeah, accepting. I remember that so clearly, so vividly that she was just like, I guess we're just,
We're just here. We're
And-
here because we're here.
And Ash just like, huh, yeah.
And the worst is that Team Rocket doesn't seem stressed out. That okay, so these people are back like where sort of near where they remember being, right?
Yeah, their memories weren't wiped because Mewtwo didn't know that they were there.
Oh, right.
my
So they're on
God.
the island and they're like, I remember everything that happened. We're stranded here. That's fine.
Yeah,
Because
it's pretty.
And that's the end of the first Pokemon movie.
With the exception of the well before its time post-credit sequence.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys stuck around.
No.
Did I not?
For
I
the-
think I maybe did.
For the post-credits, it's very weak. It is just a shot of some clouds, and then Mew pops out of one of the clouds.
Oh, I remember this, yeah.
Makes its little Mew noise, and then pops into the other.
Oh, just like the genie does in Aladdin.
Oh yeah, and
when he's like,
that's when Ash goes over and he's like, "Huh?" He's like, "What are you looking at, Ash?" He's like, when I first began my journey, I don't know what he said. When I first left home, I saw a really rare Pokemon, and I thought I just saw
Oh
it
yeah,
again.
that was before the credits.
Yeah,
but yes,
that's the
Oh,
official
sorry.
ending of the movie, and then the credits roll. And if you stick around until the very end of the credits, there's a very short scene, and it is just Mew flying across the screen and then disappearing.
Cool.
Guys, now that we've talked about this movie, I think it maybe was good. I think maybe it was good. I think maybe there's some. You guys gave me some stuff to consider, and I think maybe this was a good movie.
I don't know, man. Like, this sounds like someone was on acid when they made this. Like, this is, I'm not gonna say it's good, but it's really fucking weird.
It's very weird. Do you guys have other theories that?
Oh yeah, Pat, I want to hear your
I do.
theories. You
I
have
have
a few.
I have a thing that I don't know if maybe I've already got Pokemon madness, but
Okay.
I just started thinking about the fact that Pokemon cry, and this ties in also to the fact that is the thing that you said earlier, Matt, about Pokemon feeling like there's a higher meaning for life, because I think that's something
That's what they said at the very beginning
that's
of the
something
movie.
that's specific
that
to
Pokemon
people,
are
right?
always searching for the meaning of life.
That's what puts us above our pet dogs, right? Is
Yeah.
that we are looking for a higher meaning to existence. Also, humans are one of the only mammals that are capable of crying, of actually releasing
Yes,
tears from
correct.
their eyes. No other mammal does that.
Yes.
My only explanation for why Pokemon can cry and why Pokemon are constantly seeking a higher meaning for their existence is that at one point, a long time ago, they were just animals, and somebody tried to combine animals and humans, and that's why in the Pokemon world, they treat Pokemon with such reverence, like they're not just wild animals.
Because they're part. Yeah.
And it explains why they're able to have fully formed languages and speak with each other. It explains why they are allowed to just remain in the wild. Why nobody's just like why people draw a distinction between their pets and their Pokemon is because at some point in history, somebody said, "Let's just combine humans and animals and see what happens." And out came Pokemon. Out came 151 Pokemon.
You know, it is wild that Mewtwo just speaks English.
Yeah.
It is.
And like he just has a grasp of the language. He speaks English, and we're supposed to be okay with the fact that we caught him and made him fight other things?
And he also speaks every other Pokemon language at the same time.
Because he can understand every Pokemon.
Well,
Yeah.
here's the thing. He's not actually speaking a language, though. He's communicating telepathically. So it's not really even a language.
Yeah, but he understands the full concepts of human language.
Well, it's more like but it's more like reading thoughts rather than language, which don't really have a language.
But at the end, he's having a full-on argument with Mew. And
Right.
Meowth off in the wings is interpreting what Mew is saying. So that is him just having a vocalized conversation with this other Pokemon. I'm just saying it's a working theory after watching the first Pokemon movie. We'll see if there's anything that strengthens it. as
Any
we go
confirmation
along.
in any of the other films?
Do you guys think, does Mikeone return in any future movies?
I don't know.
He better. That can't be the last we see of him.
Yeah. I feel like every Pokemon movie focuses on a different, like, legendary or mythical Pokemon, but
Right.
we'll see. But Mikeone has to come back, right? Because also, where did he go with all those Pokemon clones? He made a bunch of Pokemon clones. They flew off into the sky. Is that supposed to be some sort of, like, heaven metaphor? Or is it like, or are they just, like, floating around and like, what do we do now, boss? And he's like, Exactly like he was in the arena. He just
Ooh,
stares at them like, I
Jesus,
didn't think this far
I
ahead.
have Monopoly back in my apartment. You guys wanna...
They
Oh,
surface
we
again.
can't go back there. I left a bunch of Pokemon trainers there.
They surface again 2 years later, pulling off elaborate bank heists.
So we've recapped the movie. We've given our initial impressions. Now that we've talked about the whole movie, what is your review of this movie? Let's start with... We started with Ashley on initial impressions, so let's start with Pat now.
I think this movie could have used some clearer direction, just more of a purpose. I think it's morally a little questionable. It seems like
Because... Hold on, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we didn't talk about that at all. What's happening at the end there? Like, what is the prevailing moral?
Friendship conquers all, man.
Well, yeah. So the overarching theme of the movie, or the lesson that they're trying to push in every scene, is that if you're good friends with your friends, then everything will be okay.
If you're a good enough friend, you can use your other friends as slaves.
There's sort of an anti-violence message, but there's also like sometimes violence is justified as long as
it's the right violence.
As long as you're doing it with your friends, I think.
You can cast spells on your friends, but you can't punch them.
But so I think I got a little confused as to the moral. Other than that, it's fun. You get a few appearances from Psyduck. And that's really the scale that I judge on.
Out of 10.
Out of 10 Psyducks, there were only 2 in the movie.
Okay, 2 Psyducks out of 10. 2 out of 10 Psyducks. Ashley.
Okay. Yeah, there was so much going on. Like, there wasn't one specific plot even.
Right.
Like, there wasn't like a specific objective for the protagonist. Like, it just seemed all over the place.
Yeah, did he want to rule the world, or did he want to liberate Pokemon, or did he want to just do a bunch of fights?
Yeah, and it seemed like he just could not decide on what he wanted to do with the fact that he was the most powerful, I guess, being on Earth. So it just seemed like everyone in the writer's room had their own idea of how they wanted it to end and what they wanted to do. And at the end of the day, they're like, fuck it, let's just do
all of them.
Like, let's do all of them. Like, I feel like there were like 5 writers and they all pitched a script and they couldn't decide, and it came down to the wire, and they're like, we're just going to do all of it. Like, we're going to put everybody's idea, we're going to put everyone's ending, everyone's plot points, and we're just going to make a fucking movie out of it. And that's what it felt like. It felt like everyone was just like, well, that's it. It's everyone's idea and no one's happy. Doesn't it?
It does really feel like the plot of the movie changes so frequently that anything that's going on is based entirely around a large event that happened within the last 5 minutes. So if you step away even that long, you're completely lost.
It's a patchwork of half ideas. The entire film is just constantly jumping around from one thought to another thought to another thought, and never really going anywhere, while trying to cram as much action into a tiny, like, it's a little over an hour. Wasn't it an hour and a half? Is that it?
Yeah, 75 minutes.
Yeah. And then coming out of just like, oh, all right, it's over now. See you guys.
So out of 10, what's your score?
Man. But, like, am I putting this against other Pokemon movies, or just,
just out of 10.
Other
just
film.
Out of 10. Pat did out of 2 out of 10 Psyducks.
Yeah, remember there were only 2 Psyducks in the movie.
There were only 2 Psyducks? That's going to take this down a notch. I'm going to give it 3 Pikachus.
3 Pikachus out of 10 Pikachus. There were only 2 Pikachus in the movie, but, like, I guess you have your reasons.
There were only 2 Pikachus, weren't there? 2 Pikachus.
Oh, no,
Sorry,
no,
I give it 2
okay.
Pikachus. I'm changing
2
it.
Psyducks, 2 Pikachus. Okay, so my review of this movie is, I think, like, it's fun. Like, I think if I were a kid, I wouldn't recognize these flaws at all. I think I'm over-exaggerating these flaws because I'm a cynical adult, right? So I think, like, the movie's crazy, right? I think even as a kid, I would have seen that ending and been like, this is a fucking disaster. Like, it's shifting perspectives and points constantly, and nothing is earned here. Ash just wins because Ash is Ash, right? So I think that would have disappointed me, so that it loses some points there, but I really like the Charizard's fighting in front of the moon. I thought Mew was really cute.
Mew was very cute.
He was, right. And, also another thing I want to point out is if you don't already know the character of Ash, this movie does not explain who Ash is at all.
Oh,
right?
it's true.
Like, he just starts acting like Ash, and you don't get any sort of, like, who is this guy, and why is he the way he is? You don't get that at all. You're just, as soon as he starts acting in a way that is supposed to be superior, you're supposed to believe, yeah, this guy's the winner. This guy's the best.
Well, no. You were supposed to get the idea when a complete stranger came up to him and been like,
Hey,
you're
are you
Ash? I want to
Ash?
fight
I
you.
wanna fight you,
Me,
but
a
he
grown adult, I want to fight you, you 12-year-old child.
Which, we can't pull up that thread too much because that's the entire premise of the Pokemon video
It's just
games.
so weird.
It's just you wander around a wilderness fighting children. So I think I would give it like a 7 out of 10.
Jeez, that's really generous.
7 out of 10 what?
Yeah.
Don fans, I guess.
All right.
There were
Because
not
it's the first
7 Don
appearance of
fans.
There were not 7 Don fans, but I want to give it 7 Don fans out of 10 because
that Don fan was fucking rad.
it's such a cool Don fan. Plus, I think I would have really loved this as a kid, and the flaws aren't so glaring. The flaws are glaring enough I would have noticed them, but they aren't glaring enough that it would have ruined the movie for me had I been just a dumb kid looking for Pokemon stuff.
To your point, Matt, the movie is cohesive. Like the storyline, as weird
Until the end.
Jumping around as it is everything is based on a thing that just happened. So if you watch it start to finish, it makes sense why they're in the situation they do. It's just too much, I think.
Right, there's just not a cohesive moral, and the best moral you can pull from it is it's okay to have slaves if you're nice to them. Like that's the most coherent moral you can pull from this movie.
Really? I thought like from the child's perspective, Pokemon are their friends. They're not slaves.
Yeah, be a good friend.
They're just
unlike
friends.
But unlike what Mewtwo says, Mikeone says it's okay to force them to fight each other.
Just not with their fists.
As long as it's not that one specific.
You have to use special powers.
As long as it's not punching.
You can't do hand-to-hand combat.
Don't use punch. Use tackle instead, and it's all fine.
Use fire.
Yes. Okay, so now we're gonna do this at the end of every episode. We're wrapping up here. Where would you rank this? I'll start this one. Where would you rank this movie on the scale of Pokemon movies? And I would say out of the Pokemon movies we've watched so far, Pokemon the first movie is the best Pokemon movie that I've seen so far. It is the best. I'm even going to call it a film because it's so good compared to the other movies I've watched, which is none. Ashley, where do you rank this movie on the scale in terms of Pokemon movies? How does this one rank?
Out of all of the Pokemon movies I've seen thus far, this is gonna be the bottom rank. I think this is the lowest.
Wow.
I think this is probably the worst.
This is the worst one
of all of them that I've seen thus far.
But, I would go ahead and argue it's the best, but I respect your opinion.
This is crazy. We're all over the board on this one. I put this one almost dead center amongst the Pokemon movies we watched this podcast so far.
Okay.
That's fair.
Well, guys, this is the first episode of the dumbest podcast that's ever been created by man.
Yes.
This has been. We don't
a
even
mistake.
Yeah. How do you guys feel? Let's check in. How do you guys feel about this podcast?
I'm really resistant to doing it once a week.
Yes.
Too bad.
Halfway through this episode, I was just like, I don't know if I'm going to make it. I don't know.
I think it's great. This is the worst podcast that's ever been made. It's called The Very Worst. Guys, thank you so much for listening. We don't have a Facebook page or a Twitter or anything, but you can find me at Matt Allcamp on Twitter.
You can find me at Pat Reber, on Twitter.
Oh, man. You can find me at Ash Stoneman on Twitter.
In New York.
Don't recommend it.
And also she's in...
Yeah, in Brooklyn. In Brooklyn. You have to search Ash Stoneman in Brooklyn.
An archaic town called New York.
It's an up-and-coming town. You'll hear of it in a few years.
Please find our Patreon.
I have a group. I have a GoFundMe. Please.
I have a Groupon. I have a Groupon. If enough people sign up, you can all come to my house and like hang out, and we'll watch a Pokemon movie
fun.
together. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening to this, the first episode of The Very Worst. Please come back next week where we're going to review the movie, the Pokemon Movie 2000, which was apparently released in 1999. All right. I don't know. We have to come up with a sign off, but I don't have one yet. So bye.
Bye.
Psyduck.